Hello there, everyone. Welcome to the Showing Up to Your Life podcast and to the YouTube channel. My name is Art Burns, and I'm excited to be here with you once again to share some of these thoughts and some of these philosophies and, yes, some of these practices to help you to live your life with a sense of presence, with a sense of acceptance, with the ability to let go, with compassion in your heart, and with curiosity in your mind. And because, as you probably hear me talking about a lot, the ability for us to attend to each moment as it's unfolding, right? Not worrying about what might happen in the future, not regretting what might have happened in the past, but instead really just attending to this present moment. That when we can do this, it really does set us up for fulfillment, for happiness, for well-being on so many different levels. And so I hope that these videos and these podcasts that I give you here, I hope they help you to get in touch with this. And yeah, I hope they do. And if they don't, I want you to reach out to me because I would love to help you even further if you need it, okay? So today, I wanted to talk about, I talk a lot about how the sort of connection between our thoughts, our emotions, and the sensations in our body, right? And I talk a lot about how these three sort of aspects of our experience, right? Everything that we experience in our thoughts, we experience it as emotion, and we experience it as a sensation in our body, right? And so at any given moment, this is happening in us, right? The thoughts, the emotions, and the sensations in our body, right? And not only is this a way for us to be aware of what's happening in our bodies, right? But it's also, we can bring awareness to how the thoughts, the emotions, and the sensations of the body actually propel each other. They actually make each other go, and they build strength for one another. And I want to tell you a very, very specific and personal story that just happened last night. And I want to tell you this story to illustrate for you what I mean, and also to illustrate the importance of bringing awareness to this, and through that awareness, taking action that is going to be in the best interest of ourselves and everyone else, right? Because it's one thing to think of these things as conceptually, right? Like, we can all, kind of sit here and ponder about what it means to be present and what it means to have the thoughts and the emotions and the sensations. We can talk about that like on a conceptual, philosophical level, but when we can also apply it to our life, and we can apply it to the interactions that we have with others, the interactions we have with ourselves, and through applying it to those aspects of our lives, we can actually increase our well-being and the well-being of others, right, in our lives. And that's what it's all about, right? Because the more well-being we cultivate for ourselves and for others around us, the more happy we are, the more successful we are, the more healthy we are, the more longevity we have, the more we actually enjoy each and every single moment, even the ones that are not so good, right? And so the thoughts have a way of sort of increasing the power of our emotions, right? When the thoughts are left unchecked, right? Like when you just kind of have these sort of a train of thought, right? That's the metaphor that we always use, right? This train of thought, right? The train goes around and around. The big wheels on the train go around and around and around, right? And every time the thought train comes around, it builds a little bit more momentum, a little bit more strength, right? And that strength and that momentum is really manifest in the emotions and the physical sensations that those emotions create, right? Which then feeds that momentum. It's like putting more coal into the box where the fire box where that makes the train go, right? I'm all about the train metaphors, but. So just last night, maybe it's easier if I just explain this as a story here. So just last night, I was at my house, and my wife was still at work. I think she was still at work, or maybe she went out to the store or something like that. But anyway, I was in my house, and with my kids, but my wife wasn't home yet, right? There was a couple of things that kind of kind of made me feel like, okay, well, this mess over here, like I'm the one home alone with the kids all day, you know, and even though I'm working from home, you know, she's at a job, and I'm like, kind of, you know, we've had conversations about how we could both sort of contribute to things to help each other out a little bit, right? And so as I'm standing there, you know, I'm in the kitchen, and I notice there's a little mess over here of like some clutter, and then I notice that there's like, you know, there's a box in the corner that's just full of stuff that just needs to be dealt with. You know, just little, tiny little things, right? Any one of these things, not a big deal, right? But what happens is, as I'm standing there, I think I was like doing the dishes or something, and as I'm standing there doing the dishes, I'm looking, and I see that one, you know, pile of clutter, and then that's a thought that, oh my gosh, you know, we talked about this pile of clutter, you know, and why am I the one that has to clean this up, right? That's the thought process that goes through my mind. And then I look over in the corner, I see that box over there, and then I see there's something else that we, you know, said we were going to sell or give away or something. It's still here, and you know, it's just like the point that I'm trying to make is that one thing after another, and I'm trying not to go into too many specifics here, you know, because this is not about like, you know, airing my dirty laundry or anything like that. But I'm sure you've had experiences like this, right? Where every, you know, I just kept seeing one thing after another, after another, after another, after another, after another. And as I'm seeing these things, and as I'm having the thoughts about these things, what's happening inside me, right? My emotions are starting to get, you know, it starts out with a sense of like maybe, you know, maybe it's like a little bit of, you know, uneasiness or frustration, right? And then it turns to maybe something that resembles more of like a resentment, and then maybe it turns into something that feels like, you know, like, why is this always happening to me? You know, these kind of emotions, right? And then maybe some anger, right? And so these are the emotions that start building with every single time that I think about like that little clutter over here, that little box over there, that little, you know, set of shelves that we were supposed to get rid of over there, you know, and what happens is every time, again, it's like a wheel. Every time it comes around, it gets a little stronger, right? That emotion manifests as a little bit more intense, a little bit more, you know, again, it goes from maybe something that's like, oh, that's bothering, you know, to something that's like, gosh, I'm angry now, right? And so if I don't bring awareness to those thoughts, and I don't see that effect that those thoughts have on my emotions, right? And of course, the sensations of your body is how you can really get in touch with your emotions in a big way, right? Because now all of a sudden, like I'm scrubbing the dishes a little harder, and I'm feeling this tension that's going on, right? And so if I leave that unchecked, right, it literally never stops, right? It literally can just keep going on and on and on and on. Now, fortunately for me, I practice a lot, right? And I practice a lot of you know, modalities that increase my self-awareness, right? And that's when I talk about, a lot of times I talk about emotional intelligence, right, in this work, right? And I talk about how, you know, self-awareness gives way to self-regulation, right? Because when you're aware of what's happening, right? When I can bring awareness to these thoughts that are happening in my mind, right? And just kind of, and the emotions that they're propelling, right? Now I can take a moment. I can step back, and I can just center into my body. I can breathe into my body. I can sense my you know, I can take a break so that I can reduce the tension. I can let go of the thoughts. I can, you know, and it can be anything, right? For me, you know, meditation works, you know, whatever, but but there's lots of other ways that you can do that. Not whatever. I mean, meditation is a beautiful thing, and I love meditation. I never will stop doing meditation because it really is a beautiful, beautiful way to handle this kind of thing. But it can also be, there's many other ways in which you can interrupt this, right? Pardon me. Because what you're trying to do here is you're trying to interrupt the cycle, right? Because again, left unchecked, this cycle just keeps going on and on and on and on, right? And to the point where, you know, at some point when my wife comes home from work or whatever she's been doing, you know, now this emotion's just gonna right? Now I'm gonna say something to her. I'm gonna address like maybe one of the things that was bothering me. but I'm not going to do it in a way that's very calm and level-headed, back in that first emotion that I was feeling, right? Which is just this little bit of bother, right? That's not how I'm going to present it. I'm going to present it with all of that emotion that's built up over all of this, this cycle of feeding that emotion and watching it grow and grow and grow. And so by the time I do speak about it, then all of those emotions, the anger, the resentment, the frustration, the whatever it is, right? That's all going to come out, right? And of course, that is what my dear, loving, wonderful wife is going to hear from me, right? Or maybe it's one of my kids, or maybe it's somebody at work or something like that, right? But this is how it works, right? And so the key then, right, is to reset ourselves so that we can get back to that original, calm water of emotion, so that we can, there's nothing wrong with bringing awareness, attention to what's happened, right? There's nothing wrong with me bringing it up to my wife. Hey, we agreed that this was going to happen, that was going to happen, this is going to happen, that was going to happen. It's not about me saying, oh, well, I guess this is just how life is. I'm just going to suck it up and be miserable. It is absolutely nothing like that. It is really about being able to make those changes, right? To address those issues so that positive changes happen, right? And that's my point. If I bring that up with this emotional, just roaring thing that's going on in me, right? Even if I'm not expressing those emotions, right? Even if I'm trying to, I'm just gonna be calm here, and I'm gonna just talk about it without emotion. She's gonna feel the emotion, right? And that's the thing. We're not hiding it from anybody. And you know that, right? You've seen people where it's like, okay, the smile on your face does not match the tone of the voice, and it does not match the feeling that I'm getting from you, right? And that's real. That's a very real thing. That is extremely powerful. So that when I'm sitting there trying to not show the emotions, I'm not going to be able to hide them, right? And so what does this do, right? This now, actually, let me continue the story. Okay, so it was Sunday evening. I had been out with my son playing some basketball, so I had gotten a little bit sweaty and stuff. And while I was washing the dishes, all this stuff was happening, and I just made dinner for the kids and stuff, and and it was. I was feeling this emotional thing happening, right? And again, because I'm practiced, I know this, but that's why I'm telling you about it, right? I knew that when my wife walked in, it was like any minute that she was going to be home at this point that this was going on, right? When she comes in, again, I'm going to, it's going to be both barrels, just like, bah, we talked about this, what happened? And now all of a sudden, what's going to happen, right? There's going to be, maybe it wouldn't blossom into a full argument. Maybe I wouldn't really, completely lose my stuff like I just explained to you, but it would be something, right? It would be some level of an emotional influence on the situation. Right? And what that means, right, is that now when my wife just came home, I'm sure she wants to go and say hello to her children. I'm sure that she wants to spend a few moments, being happy and being, kind of connected to the children, right? And so who am I to take away from that? Right? And again, but the emotions that I'm feeling at this point, right? They become so big that this becomes the kind of thing that is like, I need to deal with this right now, right? Because my emotions are so strong at that point that I feel like I'm about to burst, right? So I like, for my own benefit, I need to just let it out, right? But again, letting it out, how does that sort of cascading effect of everybody, right? So if I let that out on my wife, and then my wife turns to my son, who had a great day and had a lot of stuff that he wanted to share with her, now how does that affect the presence that she has with him, right? Because if I tell her about, oh, this pile here, that box there, that bookshelf there, like, what's up with that? We talked about it. How could you do this kind of thing, right? Now all of a sudden, when it goes time, now I say, okay, go be with Casey. I'm sorry I brought it up, whatever, damage is done, right? So when she goes and sits with my son now, she's not really with him, right? And she's now, caught up in the thoughts about, her own thoughts about, well, I told him this, and I told, meaning me, we discussed this, we discussed that, he's wrong about that, he's right about that, whatever, I feel guilt, I feel shame, I feel anger, I feel all this stuff. And in that feeling, now she's not there with my son. right? Now she's going to try to fake it, right? The same way that I would fake talking to her with my emotions, right? She's going to try to fake not being bothered by all this stuff and really kind of hanging out with my, connecting to my son. But just like you can feel it when that smile doesn't match the vibe that you're feeling from somebody at the office or in the family or friends or whatever, my son is going to feel that also. Right? And now my son is going to walk away from that conversation feeling like, okay, what happened here? Why am I not important enough for mom to like really be with me and not be all, distracted by whatever was going on, right? And now what is my son feeling from that, right? And now turn that around, and now what does he say to his sister? Right? And then what happens with my daughter? And again, it just becomes this cascading sort of domino effect. So, and this is to tell you again, it's not just about meditation. Now, meditation is a great way to disrupt this cycle, right? And that's what I did, right? I took that time, and when I kind of brought awareness, when I noticed that my thoughts and my emotions were doing this, right? What I did was I paid attention to my body, right? I just really kind of came back into my body. I started, really paying attention to the dishes I was washing. I give my mind something to focus on so that all those thoughts that feed the emotions start to go away, right? But actually last night, I'll be honest with you, it wasn't quite enough. I was still feeling this like anxiousness, right? Anxiety, sorry. I was still feeling a little bit of that tension, a little bit of that anxiety, and I still wanted really badly to like address this stuff, because, I have that right, and that's okay for me, right? And you will have those situations in your life too, right? And that's the point, right? It happens with our spouses, it happens with our kids, it happens with our colleagues, happens with people at, in every aspect of our lives, right? Our parents, our cousins, our brothers and sisters, everything. It's always going to be there. This sort of dynamic is always going to be there, right? Where I feel like I need to express what's going on here because this is not right, right? So again, I knew though that last night, if I did that, again, that cascading effect. So the question is then, what's more important? Is it more important for me to bring this up and to drag us through it and to make a point of this thing, right? And again, because that's at that moment, my emotions are telling me, yes, that's what you need to do. Do that right now. Do it, right? Because that's what our emotions do. Our emotions motivate us, right? So when we're feeling this level of emotional, sort of tension, then that is how it feels. There is a sense of urgency involved. There's a sense of like, gosh, I gotta deal with this right now or else I'm not going to survive this. I'm feeling too much pain right now, right? But it's not true, right? That's just the emotions that have been created by the thoughts. And the thoughts are just thoughts, right? And generally speaking, again, because, my wife's point of view and the reality is probably that I'm not completely correct about every single thing that I was thinking, right? Like every single one of those thoughts is probably not true, right? Maybe some of them are. Maybe some of them aren't. Maybe some of them are opposite. And maybe there's a whole slew of things that my wife wants to tell me about that I'm not doing, that she feels the same way about, right? And so that's where, there's three sides to every story, right? There's her perception, there's my perception, and then there's the actual thing that's true, right? So anyway, so yes, mindful awareness is a great way to interrupt this, but so are so many other things that you can do. Right. And so I realized that the best thing for me to do at that moment was to take take the wireless speaker that we have, bring it into the bathroom, take a nice long hot shower with some loud music happening, right, in the bathroom with me, right? And so that's what I did, right? I took maybe a 10-minute shower. It felt great, washed my hair, really took my time, like a little self-care. And when I emerged from that, right, I came out of the bathroom and I could hear the conversation that was happening still between my wife and my son. And I could hear this beautiful exchange of happiness and just, and I had calmed down at this point, right? The music and the, singing in the shower and that whole thing, like dancing and stuff in the shower, that really helped me to get it out, right? To work out that emotion, right? Just get that energy out of me, right? And then when I came out, I heard that the absence of my emotions in the family dynamic were allowing this beautiful, wonderful moment to blossom and to grow between my wife and her son, right? And that's what we're all here for as parents, right? But that could also be your employees, right? If you're a manager of people at work, right? Like it's the same thing, right? You don't want to change the course of something that might happen, right? Like that's not good for you, and it's not good for them. It's not good for the company. It's not good for you. It's not good for your kids. It's not good for your family, right? And that's the point, right? That a lot of times when we're feeling that level of emotion and that sort of agitation that we might be feeling, when we express that and we impose that on others in our family, in our work, in our friendships, in our whatever, then we're going to impact the outcome of the situation. And generally speaking, we're going to wind up causing more problems than we solve, right? We're going to wind up, because again, there's always a reaction, right? Like if I do this with my wife, right? If I have this conversation with my wife and then she feels like, oh gosh, like I can't get it right. I just got done with this big long day at work. I just didn't want to deal with this. And now all of a sudden, now I'm a bad person because I didn't do something that we agreed a couple of weeks we were going to do, so shame on me, Oh, hi, son. Yeah, sure. Let me hear about your day, and that's how what happens, right? So now I've taken away the joy that could happen between my wife and my son. And why did I do that? Right? It's not what I want to do. I would never do that consciously. Of course I wouldn't. Why would I? Just like you wouldn't. You wouldn't purposely distract somebody from doing a job at work. You wouldn't purposely, derail something that's happening with your family, your colleagues, your friends, whatever, right? Nobody would do that. But unwittingly, that's what I did. And I did it because I allowed this sort of unconscious process, or I would have allowed this unconscious process of my thoughts, my emotions, and the sensations of my body to rule me and to kind of again act on this urgency that isn't really there. It's not really true, right? It's just this urgency that I've created by my own thoughts and feeding my emotions, right? And that sensation in my body. I got into the stress response. I got into the place where I was panicked. I was in fight or flight mode. Like if I don't deal with this, then I'm going to become damaged, right? But it's not true. It's not true. I mean, yes, ironically, when I got out of the shower, my wife and I had a wonderful conversation, wonderful conversation. And I brought up just one of the things that I was really bothering me. Like the one thing that was really the big deal, right? The only thing that really mattered. I brought that up. And it was like the kind of, thing that propelled all of it, right? But I brought up that one thing, and we did it in a calm and civil way. There was no hiding emotions. It was just expression. But expression on a real level. Expression from a place of who I really am, not this imaginary, this imaginary, emotional, outburst that I'm having, right? Because that's what it is. It's manufactured. It's imaginary. It's not real. So I hope that helps you folks. And so the point here is that the more awareness we can bring to the thoughts and the emotions and the way our body's feeling, the more we have the chance of actually seeing these things, right? Before the key comes in the door and you're letting it out and just, screwing everything up, quite frankly, right? Or causing more problems than already exist, right? And so as we bring awareness to ourselves, we give ourselves the chance to stop that cycle before it gets to be something that's completely overwhelming. And so the best way to bring awareness to your body is to simply, and your emotions and your thoughts, is to simply sit with them, right? To just be with them and to be attending to them, right? To attend to them, sorry. You know, to really paying attention moment by moment to what's happening in our thoughts, in our bodies, in our emotions. Now, of course, the trick here is, and the catch-22 is that we can't do that once we're, you know, once we're inflamed like that, right? Like once you get that inflammation, you know, and that sort of hyper arousal from the emotions, the thoughts, and the, you know, and all that stuff that's going on, at that point you can't remember to say, oh wow, I forgot I'm supposed to be watching my, you know, it's too late at that point, right? So that's why we practice, right? And spending just a few minutes every day just sitting with your emotions and with your thoughts and with the body, you will be able to gain an awareness that will help you to see this when it's just this little bitty thing that you can easily just go take a shower, you know, listen to some music, go for a walk, you know, just pay attention to what's happening, what have you. There's many, many modalities that we can use to interrupt the thing. But the key is to know when you need to do it. That's the key, right? So if you'd like some help figuring out how to, or getting into some practice that will help you to develop that level of awareness, well, all you got to do is reach out. Okay, send me an email, go to my website, Art Burns Coaching, you know, you can book a call with me right there. You can literally book a call, a coaching call, right? It's a 45-minute call. There's no charge for it, and I will help you to get into some of these practices, okay? And then if you want to continue with coaching, then we'll talk about that too. But really, it's about just giving you some help. So if you'd like to get in touch with me, that's the best way to do it, right? Otherwise, you could leave me a message below. You could send a comment. You could send an email, all that kind of stuff, right? The other thing I want to ask you, as my son always tells me, please like, subscribe, hit the bell there so you know when new content comes out, even though it's pretty predictable. It's every single day. But do those things, right? Because it really does help the algorithm for the YouTube algorithm and everything else. And so I would really appreciate it if you did that stuff, all right? And certainly share this with your friends. Tell them about this, right? Because you never know what people need. You really don't, you know, because what we see people presenting on the outside, again, is not always what's happening on the inside. In fact, very rarely is it really what's happening on the inside. So if you have friends that you never know, right? So if you think somebody might benefit from this, please share it with them, all right? So thank you very much, everybody. I wish you well, and I'll be back in tomorrow. I hope you all have a great day. Take care.